Well, I wish I could say that the first leg of the CAF Champions League semifinals were very exciting, but unfortunately we had two nil-nil draws. Still, we're going to break down both matches and more coming up next on the African Five-A-Side podcast. Welcome back to the African Football Report on the African Five-A-Side podcast. I'm your host, Maher Mezahi, and this podcast is brought to you by africasaCountry.com. This week on the website, we have an interesting article called After the Uprising. You can find the link to the article in the description below. But it's really about Cameroon's Anglophone conflict and the rebellion of what they call, the Ambazonian Rebellion, and where it is now, almost a decade after it first broke out. Apparently faces internal fractures, waning support, and military pressure. So um, it was good to catch up with it because when we went to the AFCON in Cameroon, it was very much part of the narrative and the discourse. And so for me, it was important to sort of get myself up to date with what's going on in that country. If you guys are interested, like I said, the link to the article is in the description below. But otherwise, do check out Africa's Country for any other news on the African continent. Now, let's talk about the CAF Champions League semifinals. That's what we're here for. As mentioned, the two matches were goalless. There was a little bit of controversy, some okay football, but overall, my expectations for these two matches were pretty high, and I think they fell below the expectations in terms of entertainment value, in terms of overall quality of play. And then even both matches were sort of played in, I wouldn't say half empty stadiums, but they weren't full either. So that also, in my opinion, wasn't great. So let's break down both of those matches. This video is going to be a little bit weird because I recorded the reaction to Mamelodi Sundowns versus Al Ahly immediately after the match. So this is going to be, you're going to see a different setting behind me, and maybe it's going to be a little bit different. Uh, but here's that part of it, and then after that, we're going to pick up for Orlando Pirates versus Pyramids, Sundowns versus Al Ahly. We kind of had some questions about the formations. Mamelodi Sundowns lined up in a typical 4-3-3. Teshrick Matthews on the left of the attack, Ribeiro on the right, Chalulile as your sort of center half, and then a midfield three of Adams, Mokoena, Allende. Of course, Ribeiro drops deep a lot, and then the fullbacks, depending on what side the ball is on, were sort of an ultra attacking mode. Libusa gets to start instead of Suarez in the center of defense, and I thought that was interesting. But other than that, it was pretty much kind of what we expected from the Mamelodi Sundowns side of things. It wasn't really a big surprise. For Al Ahly, remember the big talking point prior to the match was that they don't have any left backs. So what are they going to do? They lined up in a 5-4-1, and instead of a left back, they brought in one of their left-footed center halves, Mustafa Al-Ash, as a left back. And honestly, I thought he did a pretty decent job on the day. But they didn't really try to play like a 3-5-2 with real wing backs or anything like that. They stayed in a conservative 5-4-1. And when I looked at the lineups prior to the match from the Sundown side, I wanted to see something from Teshrick Matthews because he's been hyped up. He obviously had a pretty decent transfer fee. He played at Borussia Dortmund. He's been always touted as a very talented youngster, and I just wanted to see it. I've never seen it really yet. I've seen flashes here and there, but not for a full match and not when the stakes are this high. Fortunately, really didn't see it again this time around, but I wanted to see a big match from him, from Libusa as a sort of replacement for Suarez. I thought he was okay. And then just maybe continuing to see good performances from Jaden Adams as he continues to build his career. And I thought he was a little bit disappointing on the day. From Al Ahly, I wanted to see big matches from the new central midfielder, Ahmed Reda from Al Ash, who's again the center half playing as a left back. But just because I hadn't really watched too much of them this season, so I wanted to see if they had what it takes to play, to put in a big performance on a big occasion in the semifinals of a CAF Champions League, and I thought they were both very good. I also was interested to see how the two wingers, so Imam Ashur is playing on the left side and Tahir Mohamed Tahir was playing on the right side, how they would do with so much responsibility going up and down, up and down. And I thought they were very, very good, both of them. So, when Sundowns were on the ball, let's talk about the gameplay a little bit. Yeah, you had this Allende Mokoena double pivot as usual. Jaden Adams at times would not really sit in front of them. At times he would go out wide and push Tashreeq Matthews left of Shalulile. Sometimes Ribeiro would drop into the pocket. Again, none of this is very surprising. Al Ahly, though, I remember earlier in the year they came to South Africa to play against Orlando Pirates, and I thought then they were a little bit too conservative. They were sitting in a very low block. In this match, I wouldn't really say that they were sitting in a low block. It was more of like a mid block. Um, I was surprised to see that the space between the defensive line and the midfield line, there was a decent amount of space there. I think because Mamelodi Sundowns, they were playing with a double pivot, and because Ribeiro would come and drop, and Jaden Adams was not taking up too much of an advanced position, so a lot of Mamelodi Sundowns players were not necessarily pushing the Al Ahly side back towards their own end too much. Everybody was sort of waiting to be on the ball. Not too many players were making runs, and that allowed the four Al Ahly midfielders, that midfield line, to really push up and ensure that they don't have too much time and space on the ball. And I thought that worked to a T, really. Al Ahly were also good when they were pressing from goal kicks, when Mamelodi Sundowns had goal kicks. And whenever they broke up play, they would spring into action on the counter attack. The wingers would be gone. The striker, Nate Gradishar, would be gone. Um, and yeah, overall, I thought Al Ahly were very good on the day. I thought the midfield outworked Mamelodi Sundowns midfield, and the attack was much more precise as well. So let's break it down into thirds. Um, or not even let's break down each half into thirds. So in the first 15 minutes, Al Ahly they started with a decent chance. Imam Ashur getting down the byline and putting a cross in. Remember, we sort of highlighted that as maybe one of the ways you could score against Mamelodi Sundowns is getting down the byline and putting in low crosses. This time Ashur put in a high cross, won a corner off of it. After 10 minutes, I typed in my notes. I'm looking at them right now. Impressive start from Al Ahly. Uh, 11 minutes is when we have the first chance for Mamelodi Sundowns, and the ball pops out to Bo Mokoena, and he hits it from 25, 30 yards out. So they didn't really break down the Al Ahly defense. It's just, and that is a serious threatening point from Mamelodi Sundowns. They have that in their toolboxes, was Teboho Mokoena cross shots from deep. And that's what happened in the 11th minute. After 15 minutes, I did this every 15 minutes. I took a note of what the stats were. After 15 minutes, 80 to 20% possession, 137 passes to 32 passes both in favor of Mamelodi Sundowns. In the final third, only 17 passes for Mamelodi Sundowns to 7 for Al Ahly. So out of the 80 passes, 17 were in the final third. Honestly, not too bad for Mamelodi Sundowns, except they didn't register a shot on target really. And you're gonna see throughout the match, even for total shots, they were trailing behind Al Ahly. Remember, coming into this match, over the last three matches, Mamelodi Sundowns were only averaging 2 shots on target. And this match didn't even register a single shot on target, I believe. I know after 75 minutes that was the case. Let me check after full time. Yeah, even after full time, 0 shots on target. Not nearly good enough. So from 15 minutes to 30 minutes, we had a half chance on a half turn from Tashreeq Matthews. Um, Al Ahly were doing a good job of breaking the ball up in midfield. Marwan Atiyah plays the through ball into Nate Gradishar, but Ronan Williams did a great job as a sweeper keeper in the 22nd minute or 21st minute. That was a dangerous chance. Around the 22nd, 24th minute, I start noticing that Imam Ashur is having a great first half. I mean, he was all over the place defensively. And, in a match like this, when you have one of those players that's so good in the attacking phase, you need him to do like a defensive role. You don't know how implicated they're going to be in that sense. And Imam Ashur was all over the place defensively. And when he did get on the ball in the attacking phases, he was very direct, running at Sundowns, very, very brave. I thought, at times with Imam Ashur, I've been disappointed. I thought he's been inconsistent over the last 2, 3 years that I've watched him. This year, throughout the entire year, when he's needed to be good, he's been really, really good, particularly in the CAF Champions League. So this has been really nice to watch him in that sense. Um, yeah, even in the 30th minute, he was threatening from across. I think he's sneakily underrated in the air. Reminds me of like Andre Ayew. When you look at him and his size on the pitch, you don't think he's going to be great in the air. But Imam Ashur is sneakily very good in the air, like Dede Ayew is. After 30 minutes, the stats were 74 to 26% possession, and we were also looking at 202 passes to 56 passes. Shots, three Mamelodi Sundowns shots versus 5 for Al Ahly, and 0 to 2 in terms of shots on target. Look at this statistic though. Touches in the opposition box, 3 and 3. Wow. Like that shows you that Sundowns, they had the ball, sometimes even in the opposition third, but they were never really getting into the opposition box. And because McQueen is the only one that really shoots from a distance, and that's the only real threat here. Like other times, as we talked about in the pre-match, Sundowns have been threats from balls over the top or crosses to the far post to Peter Shalulile. But because Al Ahly lined up with three center halves, I think that neutralized that from the very beginning. So there weren't really any threats from outside of the box besides Mokwena shooting from a distance. So the fact that they only had three touches in the opposition box, not good. And then in the final third of the first half, so minute 30 to minute 45, we had Ribeiro starts to come into the match. He scuffs two shots though wide in the 33rd minute and the 38th minute. The first one came from a Mudau cutback and he shoots it wide to the right, and same thing when he picks the ball up around 35 yards out. I don't think he ever had a chance really there. Um, and really in the final 5 minutes of the first half, it's Al Ahly with the best chances. Um, Imam Ashur, great diagonal pass from Mohamed Hani. Imam Ashur kills the ball with a beautiful first touch. Um, and then he should have probably there was an overlapping run. I think it was from Mustafa Al-Ash. He probably should have played it. He didn't play it. He loses the ball, but he quickly wins it back, and then he gets across to Nate Gradishar, who hits the post. And I thought it was offside. It never got called back for offside because obviously they didn't review it because it wasn't a goal anyways. I think if it went to VAR, maybe it would have been offside. But still, that is a very serious message that Al Ahly sending to Mamelodi Sundowns just a minute before halftime. And that really, like, Al Ahly, the last 3 to 4 minutes before halftime were the much more dangerous side. And at halftime, the statistics were 70 to 30% possession for Sundowns, 5 to 7 shots, 0 to 3 shots on target, and then 5 touches to 8 touches. Al Ahly had 8 touches in the opposition box, 3 touches more than Mamelodi Sundowns, who are playing at home. And at halftime, I like to watch, the body language, and you could see the coach of Sundowns, Miguel Cardozo, ranting, pissed off, and you could see Al Ahly sort of looking more, I would say, more calm, but also discussing more tactics. Not so emotional. And that I thought was a sign of things to come. Okay, in the second half, we had Al Ahly starting quickly. They had a penalty shout on a corner kick. In the 50th minute, I wrote in my notes, is the double pivot still needed from Mamelodi Sundowns? There's an action where I think it's Marcelo Allende is trying to pass the ball to Lebusa, and Tabo Mokwena is not facing the ball. He's just sort of walking away. I think he's trying to discuss with the sideline or maybe with Modiba on the other side, and the ball hits him in the back of the legs. I'm thinking to myself, why do we have Allende and Mokwena sort of playing in this double pivot? It'd be nice to give instructions to Allende to sort of push forward, like, again, there's too many Sundowns players coming to the ball. Ribeiro's coming to the ball. Allende's coming to the ball. Mokwena's coming to the ball. Sort of want them to push Al Ahly back, and it wasn't really happening. So yeah, that's one thing that was frustrating me with Sundowns a little bit. I think Roland and Mokwena did a better job of that tactically when he would, use, instead of having the four defenders with the two fullbacks, he would use probably one of the fullbacks as an inverted fullback, usually Modiba, and that would help push everybody forward. Um, in the 54th minute, Sundowns a little bit more threatening from the set piece routine. They do that one. They keep doing it this year, where whoever's taking the set piece, whether it's Ribeiro or Mokwena, they pretend to run up to the ball, they back up, and then they run up again, and he whips the ball in. And it was really strong clearance by Rami Rabia, but it was a huge clash between the Ahly defenders and the goalkeeper. It was a dangerous ball in. So they were threatening a little bit from set pieces. Um, but again, like, Al Ahly had the more dangerous chances in the 58th minute. Nate Gradishar, running the channels well, puts in a cross to Imam Ashur, who heads the ball down to Tahar Mohamed Tahar, who's running into the ball, heads the ball towards goal. And honestly, it looked like it touches Grant Kakana's hand. I thought it was a handball. And on the replay, I thought it was a handball again. Obviously, I didn't see every angle. Maybe I think the only thing is that maybe Grant Kakana's hand was by his side. That's the only reason I don't think it would have been a handball. But other than that, I mean, it looked like a handball to me. I thought it was going to be called a handball of VAR. So yeah, after 60 minutes, we're talking about 6 to 9 total shots and 0 to 3 shots on target. So again, Al Ahly with more shots and more shots on target, even though they're being outplayed in terms of possession, 71 to 29%. Now, between the 60th and the 75th minute, Al Ahly are really growing into this match. You start seeing players like Mustafa Al-Aish, you start seeing like Nate Gradishar really going down. Whenever they get tackled, whenever they win a foul, winning 3 to 4 minutes at a time. Um, and Ribeiro here, I'm starting to see him struggle. And I wrote in the 64th minute after a cheap giveaway, bad match by him. And overall in the CAF Champions League, maybe this is revisionist history, but I haven't really been impressed by him. I wrote, is he a flat track bully? Like it's a term they use, I think, in the UK to say like he's really good against poor opposition. Which I don't think that's fair because he did well against Pirates. He's been okay in the CAF Champions League, but I'm still waiting for him to put in a 9 out of 10 performance or a 10 out of 10 performance against, a team like this at a stage of the competition like this. Um, they started making substitutions, Mamelodi Sundowns. So Reyners and Salas in for Matthews and Shalulile. I still would have wanted to see Shalulile and Reyners on the pitch at the same time. I think that would have been nice to see. Maybe with Tembazwane on the left wing, and or on yeah, on the left wing, let's say. And he comes in the 70th minute. I think it's his first game back, and welcome back to Mshishi. It's so good to see him back. At the age of 34, 35, prior to his Achilles injury, I hadn't seen him play at that level for a very long time. I mean, he had been playing, for Bafana and for Mamelodi Sundowns at the very, very highest level for about 12 months prior to his injury. So I just really hope that we can see him play again at that very highest level. So he gets 20 minutes in this match, and honestly, I thought he was really good. Like, one of the things about Sundowns, we kind of criticize them because when they get close to the final third of the pitch, it looks like they don't have enough creativity. It seems like they're not quick enough on the ball. And what Zwane was doing was when he was finding those spaces in between defenders, and when he would receive the ball, he would be playing flicks left and right, and he would be making runs down the byline. Even though one of the times, it looked like he should be getting onto the ball as the ball was played down the byline. I think it was Ribeiro that played it to him, and he couldn't get there. And I thought, did he lose a little bit of a step of pace? And that's the first thing that we have to watch. But overall, I thought he fluidified play and he facilitated play, and the attacking play was much quicker by Mamelodi Sundowns. Um, when he came onto the pitch. So welcome back, Mshishi. But as soon as he came on, 1 minute later, Al Ahly scored. Now it was offside, and Ashraf Daria was offside over here. But it seemed like one of those where Sundowns cleared the ball, and then the ball was played back in, and Ashraf Daria was like a good maybe 30 to 40 centimeters offside. He heads the ball square to Nate Gradishar, who scores. And what a game he had. I thought, in the first half, Imam Ashur was by far the man of the match for Al Ahly, going both ways. In the second half, I would give it to either Marwan Atiyah in central midfield for just the industry and just the beautiful way he was recycling play, or Nate Gradishar, the Slovenian striker. And I remember looking at, we're in the 70th minute, and I'm looking at Nate Gradishar, I'm thinking, they bought him for 1 million. And then I'm looking at Sundown side of the pitch, and I'm looking at Arthur Salas, and I'm thinking, how much was he? He cost 3.2 million, right? Thinking to myself, man, like what a waste of money. Nate Gradishar is maybe 3 times better than him, and Arthur Salas costs 3 times more than him. So you could see how important it is to recruit the right players. Um, at the 75th minute, again, we're looking at 6 to 9 total shots, 0 to 3 shots on target. Mamelodi Sundowns had 6 touches in Al Ahly's box. Al Ahly had 13 touches in Mamelodi Sundowns' box. So, and 72 to 28% possession of the ball. And for the final 15 minutes of the match, I don't know if I just lost interest or what. I think it was quite clear that this match was going to finish 0-0. Al Ahly starts making substitutions. Ashraf Ben Shekli scores another goal, but it's offside. So Al Ahly scored 2 goals, but they were both quite clearly offside. And there was no real threats from Mamelodi Sundowns. So look, finishes 0-0. We predicted that it would finish 0-0 in the preview show. We predicted that Mamelodi Sundowns throughout this competition, they've been struggling to score goals. They've now only scored 6 goals in 9 matches, which is probably not good enough. To be fair, they've had to play against sides that are not always adventurous against them, sides that sit in low blocks. But part of being a top team is finding ways to deal with that and score goals regardless. This was really the discourse prior to the match: was would Mamloudi Sundowns be able to break down Al Ahly, and would Al Ahly be brave? I think Al Ahly set up today not ultra defensively. This wasn't like Esperance Tunis, who came to Pretoria and was really negative. I thought Al Ahly had a very intelligent strategy here. Yes, they were not trying to win the midfield battle, but I thought they played Mamelodi Sundowns very intelligently. They sprung forward with counterattacks, and they overall had the more threatening chances. Uh, Mamelodi didn't, again, Sundowns didn't even register 1 shot on target in this match, and that's not good enough. So Al Ahly fans will feel better about how their team played. Still, And even when I look at the body language, again, I love doing this at the final whistle is looking at the body language. You see the Ahly players, they all bow down. They do in Islam we call it the sujood when they go and they put their forehead on the ground. It's a way of thanking God. So they're all very thankful, very grateful. They'll do that win or loss anyways, though. And I see Mohamed Shinawi, the Ahly goalkeeper, go back and watch at the final whistle, going like this. And you could see, I think, Cardozo and Ribeiro, so the Sundowns coach and the number 10, they looked much more concerned on their face. But that said, again, as much as I think Al Ahly will be galvanized by this performance, I still don't think this is like. I still think Mamelodi Sundowns are very much in this tie. Because of the away goals rule, I think the most important thing when you're hosting a match is to not concede a goal. And they didn't concede a goal here. So this tie will be determined in Cairo. I think Al Ahly are favorites here, but slight favorites. Now, just moments after the final whistle, I think Al Ahly are probably, I would say, like 55% to 45% favorites in this match. I still think, again, it's very, very close. So, overall, take your licks if you're Mamelodi Sundowns. The good news is, like, again, you didn't concede. You score one over there, they're going to have to score two. So that's something to put in your back pocket. But the main thing is you're going to have to score. Uh, That's the main issue for Mamelodi Sundowns in the CAF Champions League this entire season. If you're at Ahly, I think you can leave this feeling very, very good about yourselves. There's been a lot of negative vibes and negative press about Al Ahly over the last 2, 3 weeks, and for them to come to Pretoria against Mamelodi Sundowns again, historically their bogey team over the last 5 years, and to put in this performance and look like the better side, I think is very, very good news for them. Let's meet again after the Pirates versus Pyramids match on this channel. Right, and now for Orlando Pirates versus Pyramids. It was kind of first thing I would talk about is the fact that this match wasn't played at Orlando Stadium. This match was played at the FNB instead. For those of you that don't know, FNB Stadium is a bigger stadium. It's much more neutral. It doesn't belong to Orlando Pirates. Um, and I didn't really love that decision was made to play at the FNB Stadium. Now, the Orlando Pirates media officer, Tendi Marafe, said that they made this decision because there was a very important church service. I think it's because it's Easter Sunday, tomorrow. So maybe there was a very important church service that was supposed to take place, I guess, at the stadium. And she was talking about, Orlando Pirates being a big club that's based in their community, also a very spiritual club. And so the decision was made for the greater good of the entire community to have that church service. I'm nobody, of course, I'm not even Christian. I'm nobody to really pass judgment on that. But what I can say flat out is that that decision, I think, had a big impact on this match. Particularly in the first bits of this match, you could tell that the atmosphere was dead at the FNB. Um, Actually, in both matches, the supporters sort of arrived a little bit late. Um, but it was particularly the case in the second match when between Pirates and Pyramids. Um, Not to mention as well the pitch quality at the FNB Stadium I thought was pretty poor. It was cutting up. There were a lot of players that were sliding around. And yeah, like I said, it didn't really fill up until the second half. Now, let's talk about the lineups before we talk about the gameplay. Orlando Pirates lined up in a 4-3-3. So they didn't do the three center half formation that they did in the quarterfinals. They decided to go with Mbokazi and CBC and sit Toki on the bench. Dino Van Rooyen on the right, Hoto on the left, Mbata and Makaula on a double pivot, Mofokeng, Maswangani, and Kota in the attacking midfield, and Mabasa as the striker. I didn't mind this formation. I thought it was a little bit of an attacking lineup from Jose Rivero. First of all, the decision to play Hoto at left back instead of, Mako or a more traditional left back or even Bokazi or whatever the case may be. For me, that's an attacking sign. The fact that they didn't play the three center halves, a sign of intent as well. Playing both Reli and Nkota on the wings, another sign of intent. So for me, this was a positive sign from Orlando Pirates going into this match that they wanted to score goals and win this match. On the other hand, Pyramids FC, they also line up in a, let's call it a 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, whatever you want to call it. And the back line is and the goalkeeper is very typical. So you have Mohamed Hamdi at left back, Mohamed Shibi the right back. That's been the case throughout the Champions League. Ahmed Sami and Mahmoud Mar'i as center halves, again, very normal. Ahmed Shinnawi as the goalkeeper, normal. Double pivot of Blati Toure from Burkina Faso and Mohamed Lashin from Egypt. Very complimentary, very good double pivot there. But again, very normal. Walid El Karti as the Moroccan in front of them. Hamdi Fathi on the right wing, the Mohamed Salah wannabe, or we should say carbon copy. Fiston Mayele as the lone striker, and on the left, at left winger, they had Karim Hafiz, which they also did against AFR Rabat. Karim Hafiz is supposed to be more of a left back, an attacking left back, but more of a left back. So this is almost as if, Sundowns or South Africa go with Morena and Mudau. It's like the double full back on the wing. So for me, this is not exactly a sign that they want to defend, but that they're trying to be balanced. They're not throwing caution to the wind, not throwing on another attacking midfielder there, for example, playing El Karti instead of playing Ramadan Subhi, who's probably more of an attacking outlet as well. That's another sign of things that Pyramids, they were coming into this match uh, looking to be balanced, not looking really to be as attacking as they usually are. Now, when they were in possession of the ball, Orlando Pirates, if you watch the match back, look at the positioning of Mofokeng and Nkota in particular. The two supposed to be wingers. At times during the season that when I've watched them play, they've almost hugged the touchline. They've gotten really wide. But in this match, if you go back and watch it, they're really, really playing narrow. Really on either side of Mabasa, keeping things as narrow as possible, which I didn't mind so much. Hoto, on the other hand, was making the wide runs down the left flank more than Dino Van Rooyen, who was mostly staying back. But that's where they were getting some of their width from. At times, Hoto was almost playing as a fourth attacking midfielder. So those two were playing strictly narrow, and then Maswangani, he would pop up all over the place. He would pop up on the right wing, sometimes even more to the right than in Kota. Sometimes he would pop up deep. Sometimes as a second striker, it seemed like he had complete freedom to do whatever he wanted. Um, yeah, sometimes I swear I wrote down in my notes, I'm playing Where's Waldo with Tito Maswangani, trying to find him every single time that Pirates are in possession. And where is he? Where is he? Because he wasn't in a single playing a single position really in possession of the ball. So the match starts. Pirates immediately I notice are pressing high. They want to have possession of the ball. Remember going into this match they were averaging 46%. I thought that would change. That did change. Today they averaged 56% throughout the entire 90 minutes. So they have more of the ball. The That 46% was very much skewed because of the quarterfinals against MC of Algiers. Other notes that I have early in this match is Mbokazi being a beast of a defender, especially when it comes to one-on-one defending. I mean, at times he's coming up against Mustafa Fethi, a very quick, very experienced left winger, one of the better wingers in this competition, and he pushed him off the ball like it was nothing. He's so strong, and you can tell he's a defender that loves to defend. I think there are some defenders that don't necessarily love to defend. You know what I mean? Like maybe that's a harsh thing to say, but when I look at, for example, Sundowns, their young defender, Koza, and I think, man, he's very good on the ball, you know. That's a strength in and of itself, and he's decent in the air and everything. But I don't know that he loves defending like Mbakazi loves defending when it comes to, one-on-one duels, like dribbling one-on-one. Um, and it's just a way of talking, really. Obviously, I'm not in the players' heads, but you could tell, like, Mbakazi, he's good at it and he likes doing it. So yeah, what else do I have in my early notes? Some of the chances from Pirates were coming from long shots. Talenta Mbata had a long shot that draws a save from Shinawi, and Bukazi does the same a few seconds later. At one point, so this is the reason why I like them playing narrow, Mofo King and Nkota. Mofo King makes a run past the Pyramids defenders. The ball gets played over the top. He cuts it back to Maswangani, and Maswangani hits the post. Now, to be fair, they had never had a chance of going in. It really hits off the outside of the post. But he does this in the first 15 minutes. And immediately I'm looking at the match statistics. I think I see within the first 15 to 20 minutes, I see four shots for Orlando Pirates, one shot on target. And I say, oh, they've practically already overtaken Mamelodi Sundowns in just 15 minutes. Uh, just to show you like how it shouldn't be that difficult to get a shot on target, if you're Mamelodi Sundowns. But anyways, we're talking about this match. A little bit later, there's a long diagonal to Hoto. He the right back from Pyramids misses it. Hoto controls and crosses a low cross for Mabasa. That's one of the things that we highlighted that maybe way you could score goals against Pyramids. but it was just maybe 10 centimeters in front of Mabasa, who didn't even slide for it. I thought he should have at least slid for the ball. Maybe should have anticipated it a little bit better. But yeah, so I would say the first 15 to 20 minutes were comfortably belong to Orlando Pirates. Pyramids were not disgusting by any means, but I think they comfortably were for Orlando Pirates. Um, Now, Pyramids get back into the game around the 28th to the 25th minute. They start at times pressing high, depending on when the press is triggered. They have a corner kick that Mohamed Shibi, remember before the match, we are talking about the Moroccan right back, Mohamed Shibi, saying he's really going to be dangerous on set pieces and on crosses. So here in the 20th minute or the 21st minute, he gets a corner. Sibo Chain gets a hand to it, but just about if he doesn't get a hand to it, um, they're gonna Pyramids might score there. And here Pirates start resorting to Dion Hoto crosses that are not really working. Blati Toure gets a shot wide around the 30th minute mark, and then Pyramids score before the half, and it's Fiston Mayele from the DRC. And the ball comes from the Moroccan right back, Mohamed Shibi, who puts the ball in over the top. The ball is deflected by Mbokazi, the Pirates center half, and then Mayele gets on the end of it. Sipo Chain is running out. Mayele gets on the end of it, and it's a really cool finish from him. Now, immediately I thought it was offside, to be honest. And it goes to VAR, and it is correctly, in my opinion, ruled offside. I think this was very good officiating. Pyramids here are not happy because they say that Mbokazi touched the ball last. Because he touched the ball last, that rules Mayele onside. I don't at all agree over here. Now, it would be different if Mbokazi was coolly, calmly, deliberately in control of the ball and he makes a back pass that Mayele picks up and scores there. Then I agree. But and this is according to the rules of the match, I tweeted this, when you see that Mbokazi is forced to make a split-second decision because he doesn't know if Mayele is onside or not. The ball is traveling at a very quick distance. It's in the air. He's not in complete control of his body. He quite clearly doesn't deliberately place the ball where he wants to place it. All of those factors, the speed of it, you could just tell for me that it was unnatural. He was trying to make a last-minute defensive action, and because it was very at the last minute, it was almost reactionary, instinctive. That wasn't a deliberate move, in my opinion. And so the fact that I would rule it offside, and that's according to the rules of the game. It really goes back to the discretion of the referee. He makes the decision if the defender deliberately played the ball or no. If the defender deliberately played the ball, then it should be a goal. But in my opinion, he didn't. I think anybody that watches it with a neutral point of view would probably say the same thing. And yeah, so I think it was correctly ruled no goal. We get to halftime. Second half begins with no changes. And initially it's a little bit of a boring 5-10 minutes. And then around the 60th minute, man, Orlando Pirates are very, very lucky to not concede. First of all, Hoto gets caught in possession with the ball, like the ball gets caught in his feet, and it gets poked away, and Mustafa Fatih is off to the races. The fake Mohamed Salah, and he's running, 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 running. And Dino Van Rooyen here. First, initially, he pulls away from Dino Van Rooyen, who's chasing him. He's the only player that's chasing him. But Dino Van Rooyen slowly makes up ground, and at the very end, right when he takes the shot, he perfectly times a slide tackle, and he tackles the ball. He deflects it out for a corner kick, and that was one of the better pieces of defending we had seen all evening, in my opinion, and that's saying something, especially with Mbukazi's display. And I think Dino Van Rooyen deserves a lot of credit for that. He really justified the decision of Rivera to play him just for that. Um, and then a minute later, Mustafa Fatih finds some space around the 18-yard box and gets a shot off. And then another minute later or so. So really, within 3 minutes, we have three clear-cut goal-scoring opportunities, and the first and the third one are crazy. The third one is a 1-2 from the Moroccan fullback, Mohamed Shibi. Again, he was the real danger man, in my opinion. He puts the cross in, and this time there's no question of an offside or anything. Fiston Mayele is at the penalty box, all alone, just the wide open gaping goal in front of gaping goal in front of him, and somehow he heads over. And the goal commentator says it was easier to score than to miss, and I think I agree here. Fiston Mayele we're used to seeing him do much, much better than that. And for him to miss from that distance at that point of the game, I thought that was very, very tough on Pyramids. But still, that was, there's moments in the match where it's peaks and valleys, and that was very, very important for Pirates not to concede over there. And really, I can't even say that they didn't concede because of their own doing. I mean, that was the case for the Dino Van Rooyen slide tackle, but for the second one, they just got lucky. Now I think Jose Rivero's, it's not that he's panicking, but he's realizing he has to take action. He brings in Evanes Makopa for Mabasa. I think probably the right thing to do. Uh, and Pirates are slowly getting to the match. You have Makaula who takes a shot from outside of the box. At the 71st minute, you have a counterattack that goes Makopa to Nkota and then to Hoto who takes a shot as well. But Pyramids are not really going away. They have a few chances as well, Blati Toure, and then they make an attacking substitution in the 76th minute, bringing in the Nigerian winger Ojula for Karim Hafiz, who remember is left back playing as a sort of left winger. Um, Really not much to report about, except at the very end again, a corner kick again from the Moroccan right back, Mohamed Chibi. And Walid El Karti gets a head on it, and it hits Sudik Awujula, the substitute that comes on, it hits his arm and it deflects in. Now, it's ruled a goal. Again, VAR takes a look at it, and again, VAR rules that it's no goal. Now, this has created a huge amount of controversy on Egyptian social media, even though, first of all, people are lucky this is not Al Ahly, because if it was Al Ahly, we wouldn't hear the end of it, because they have obviously a much bigger fan base and they have, media channels dedicated to this on their own and so on and so forth. But still, I think Egyptian press and Egyptian media are pretty incensed that they had on the day 3 goals ruled out for various reasons. I don't think you can argue with the first two. This one, I really don't know. Um, I've looked it up. And in 2019, 2020, the IFAB, the International Board of Referees, they ruled that no goals can be scored from a handball. Now that's whether intentional or unintentional. And I remember this rule very clearly. And so during the match, I tweeted that, like, for me, should be a pretty clear decision as well. The ball deflected off his arm and it went in. I remember I think there was something similar in a Champions League final, maybe Liverpool, Tottenham, something like that. And so the fact that it hit his arm, even if his arm was stuck to his body, no goal can be scored with a hand. Then I read a little bit and I started looking at different interpretations. Some people say no, it depends on the silhouette of the player's body. If it's in a natural position, it doesn't really count as handball. So I really don't know. I'm coming here and to say I don't know. I think it should have been ruled out, but I'm not 100% sure. And maybe here's where we could probably speak to. I'm sure we're gonna have referees come out during the week and speak about it, and we're gonna have some kind of decision that's made. Maybe CAF is gonna speak about it if Pyramids decides to appeal. I don't know, but I can see where the referee's coming from, but I really don't know if it was the correct decision or not. So yeah, this was at towards the end of the match. Pyramids are completely incensed now that they've had 2 goals rolled off by VAR. And then the end of the match is just very basic. When you get to those final minutes and it's the end of the first leg, I think both teams are probably more concerned with not making mistakes rather than scoring. And so that's really what we got towards the end of the match. One thing I didn't like after the match is the Pyramids coach Krunoslav Juricic, the Croatian manager, who I have a lot of respect for, who I've sung the praises for on this channel. He said, for me, we won the match 2-0. I'm very happy with my team. For me, you can say that. I love that you have this mentality about you and your team. What I didn't like is what he said a little bit later. He said, I love Africa, but today I don't like Africa. Hinting at the fact that we have substandard refereeing on the continent. And this is obviously like an old trope that people like to bring up time and time again. And for me, it was a very unfair, very mean thing to say, and I think you should be sanctioned or fined for saying it because you're bringing the officiating of the continent into disrepute for decisions that you don't like, even though, in my opinion, they're correct. I don't know about the second one. I really don't know. I'm not trying to take any sides or anything, but I think it's correct. So for decisions that are correct, that are probably correct, I know that definitely the first one was. You're bringing the officiating of the continent into disrepute, playing into old tropes. So for me, that should be a fine. And I'm not trying to say like it's because, he's not even African and he's talking about African refereeing. No, 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 no. Who does he think he is? Because trust me, I know Africans we do this all the time as well. You know, I know Algerians will say, "Oh, this African refereeing," or South Africans will do it at times. And uh, I mean, I don't think it's a coincidence that at times, you know, on our continent, sometimes we bring referees from abroad, whether they be from Asia or from Europe. We used to do this in the African Cup of Nations. Many people don't know that, but decades ago, we used to bring European referees and Asian referees to come referee in the African Cup of Nations. So even us, I don't like that we have this attitude to our own, within our own football. So I'm not trying to say it's because he's non-African, he shouldn't say that. I'm just saying in general, we shouldn't talk about the referees. He should be fine for doing that. And the fact that he's doing it, despite the fact that I thought the referee had a decent match and probably made the right decisions, makes it even worse. So that's one thing I didn't really appreciate. But other than that, look, overall, when we're looking back at the two matches, I think the Egyptian sides were much better than the South African sides today. I don't think there's much argument here. Al Ahly were organized. They gave up possession of the ball, but they didn't care. Marcel Kohler said it in the post-match press conference. You know, like possession doesn't win you matches. You know, and it's not like they were doing the Esperance playbook where they were just, you know, being negative. They were creating chances, being competitive. They obviously had a plan. They were implementing that plan. Pyramids, in my opinion, were probably also the better side on the day. Even though Pirates, I would say, are better than Sundowns, Pyramids were still better than them. And so the only real saving grace for me for the South African sides are that they managed to keep the clean sheets at home, and that's a big deal. You know, the away goals rule, the away goals rule, the away goals rule, especially for Orlando Pirates, who I'm confident can score goals away from home in Cairo, but it's not going to be in Cairo International Stadium with 90,000 people like Mamelodi Sundowns are going to be going to. You know, Sundowns are going to Al Ahly where it's going to be packed and it's going to be intimidating. Pirates are going to Pyramids where there's going to be a couple hundred fans, maybe 300, 400, 500. There's going to be maybe Jurcic said in the pre-match press conference that when they qualified for the quarterfinal, when they won 4-1 against ASFAR Rabat, he said there were zero journalists in the press conference. Nobody cares about pyramids in Egypt. So for me, the away fixture for Orlando Pirates should be a lot easier than for Sundowns going to Al Ahly. So I'm confident that they can score a goal over there. And if they do, then of course, Pyramids are going to have to score two goals. So uh, it's not to say that these ties are over. Not at all saying that at all. I think both South African sides can qualify, just like obviously both Egyptian sides can qualify. But I would say that the advantage is going to the Egyptian sides at the moment. They look like the more experienced, the more cool, the more calm, the more collected. I would even say the better coached and the better skilled sides on the day. So yeah, overall, I was a little bit disappointed again with the overall quality of play for both matches. I hope the second leg of the semifinals are going to be much better, and I hope the CAF Confederation Cup tomorrow is going to be much better as well. But anyways, it's going to be a very busy week on the podcast. So if you've enjoyed this breakdown, if you enjoy this channel, again, thumbs up, comment, subscribe. I always try to reply to the comments. I try to make sure it's a discussion. So always, you know, the longer comments that give a little bit of your own insight are very, very much appreciated. And yeah, we'll speak to you all probably tomorrow. If not, then after tomorrow. Take care. Peace.